Hi, welcome or welcome back to the channel. I'm Chantal. Over a year ago now, I painted this area using these black and white stencils. However, I had to do some work on the adjacent patio area and it's caused all of this damage. I've extended the area, so now there's gaps in the paint, so it's time to revamp the area. And I decided, given that it needs a revamp, why not just change the whole thing? Change the colour, change the stencil. So that's what we're going to look at today.
If you haven't done already, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and press that notification bell for new video releases.
The first thing that we're going to do is to prepare this floor. We're going to give it a really good clean, and here I'm just adding some exterior cleaning solution, scrubbing that down with an outdoor brush and then rinsing it off. I then remove the excess water, leave it to dry. I want to go for a brighter colour this time because the house is going to be put up for Airbnb and I want to give it that kind of holiday vibe. So I've gone for this colour. It's called Shadow Deep by Taubmans, and it's kind of a clayey colour. It still has that earthy tone, but it's a bit more playful, a bit more resort-like, and I think it's going to really go with the grey. So I go around all the edges, cutting in, and this is what it looks like. With a small roller, giving it 2 coats of paint. So I'm going to use a stencil over this. It's called the Madrid tile stencil. It's by Dizzy Duck Designs. So it comes with 2 pieces, 2 stencil pieces. And I initially think, oh, isn't this simple? You know, I've got really clear transition points, you know, where they're going to overlap. But I quickly find out that, you know, it's not as simple as it looks. I ended up making a couple of mistakes, wasting time and paint. So my advice would be to maybe work it out on a sheet of paper, and just work out the pattern, work out the transitions before starting on, you know, the final surface. So I started really well. What I always do is measure the center of the area and then work outwards. So I've done all of that, started really well. The other tip I would say is also make sure you don't overload the roller. You want the roller to be quite dry. That just helps with, you know, avoiding over spillage and going over the border of the line. So try to keep them really neat. It's never going to be perfect, but it doesn't have to be. I realized I've made a dreadful mistake. Painted the stencil upside down, which is why you can see that line there. But not only that, I carried on making mistakes on the other side once I thought I had sussed it out. So we're not supposed to have these lines, it's supposed to be a block. But I just carry on and I think I can repaint that later. Once I sussed out what I was doing, I just wanted to carry on. So that's what I did. I just continued on the other side, and you'll see later that I come back to correct the bit where I've gone wrong. This stencil, there's 2 transition points, one at the side and one at the bottom. So when you're painting, to move over to the next side, you have to paint the bottom of the stencil, and then when you're moving it forward, you line it up with that transition point that you've already made. That sounds really simple now I'm saying it, and I honestly don't know why it took me a minute to get it. Like, I've used stencils before, even stencils where the transition points are really small and intricate, but for some reason, yeah, this just got to me. So now I'm going back over. I have to repaint the areas where I've made a mistake, and that's the beauty of paints, to be honest. Like, don't be afraid of making a mistake. You can always go back, you can always repaint. Yes, it is a bit of a pain, it's a bit time consuming because then you've got to wait for that to dry, all of that, but you know, it's totally resolvable. So, you know, once that's done, I just carry on, and that's basically what I do all the way to the bottom of this area. Just continue with that. With With having 2 stencils at a time, I would say the good thing is that you can you know, place one stencil and paint and then place the other stencil somewhere else. But I would say don't rush. That's where you know, the reason why I made the mistake. My other tip would be to wipe the stencil each and every time after using it. Even if you're not using a lot of paint, a little bit of paint will inevitably you know, seep through on the other side, and then when you place that down on the floor, if you haven't wiped it off, the paint is obviously going to transfer onto your surface, leaving a bit of a mess. So always wipe that. So I just continue with the stencils until I get to the end of the patio. And the other thing I would say is, like, if there's places where it's not perfect, you can always touch ups. I had quite a bit of touch ups to do. But this is what it looked like in the end. Bold, funky pattern, and I just love the contrast with that clay colour and the white. The other thing that we did in this area was just to add some Merboot decking to the side of the concrete, just to really neaten it up. Alright, so to finish this off, I added some paving and concrete sealer, and this just acts as a protector for the paint, just to, you know, stop it from chipping and just to help preserve it for a little bit longer. Area is actually split into 2 sections. We've got that seating area, and this area is actually the alfresco area. But we've decided to add a section at the front which will all be aligned with stones, just to add a bit of a feature, and also just to help mask the grass which doesn't grow very well in this section. That's it really. We put everything back together, and this is what the space is looking like. This stencil and the colour just adds a sense of fun, I think, to the space, and that's probably a lot more appropriate, you know, moving forward and transitioning the house into an Airbnb, just to give that kind of, you know, holiday resorty feel for guests. So yeah, I really like it. It was tricky, like I said, to get it right, but I think if you practice and, you know, just take that time to know what you're doing, don't rush it like I did to try and get it done, then, you know, using stencils is a really good way to transform a space on a budget. Subscribe and click the notification, because the video for the adjacent area, that concrete patio area, will be coming out very soon. Alright, well, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think, as always, in the comments, and until next time, catch you soon.